This is Dr. Amelia Bueche, founder of This Osteopathic Life for the health of all things. As a specialist in neuromusculoskeletal medicine and osteopathic manipulative medicine, I have dedicated my professional career to the study of the intricate design of the human body and understanding how the structural components, nerves, muscles, and bones can influence the function of the entire system. Quality movement directly relates to quality health, and it's important to have the right tools for optimal strength, flexibility, and mobility. Through these videos, I lead you through clear and concise exercises that you can use to find optimal health through movement. It is important to note that while I am a physician, these videos do not constitute medical advice, nor do they replace the important relationship between you and your personal physician. Before beginning any exercise plan, it is important to consult with him or her to ensure these are the right exercises for you, your particular diagnoses, and your current state of health. Thank you for joining me, and let's get started finding best health through movement. In this episode, we're going to walk through a 4-direction pelvic mobility exercise. We're going to do this in the seated position, and you can be in a chair where your legs are at 90 and 90, or maybe like me on a stool where you're a little bit elevated. Find what works best for you. And the first exercise that we're going to do is to bring the knee up, and we're going to interlace the fingers in front of the knee. And from the side, you can see that I've increased the height of my knee above my hip. I'm going to stay sitting tall, and I'm going to press my knee into my hands. And I'm not going to move much, but you can see my muscles in the arms are active, so if I'm sitting here, I'm not pressing yet. As I press with my knee, I sit even a little taller, and the muscles in my arms activate. It doesn't have to be a lot of force, but enough to get engagement. And you want to keep this triangle, the arm, the back, and the leg are all nice and straight here. Hold that for about 3 to 5 seconds, relax, then take up a little slack, bring the knee a little closer to the chest, and press again. You don't have to take up a lot of motion if you relax, so we're not going all the way to here right away, just those little adjustments, taking up the slack as we move to encourage better motion through the hip. Okay? So we're pressing down, relaxing, and taking up the slack in this direction. That's the first of the 4 planes of motion. The second is going to be a pushing up from the leg. And so you can have one or both hands, depending on what feels most comfortable for you, on the thigh just above the knee, and you're going to lift that leg up toward the ceiling, up toward the sky, and you're going to resist that with your own strength. A little bit less of a mechanical advantage in this one, but again, the force shouldn't be very great. So you're just doing enough to initiate that movement and enough pressure down to resist it so that there's no movement here. Okay? As I relax, I let that knee drop a bit and do it again. So this is one where it can be helpful if you can allow the knee to drop below the plane of the hip. Okay? So we had the push down and the push up. We're now going to move into pushing out. So we're going to have a hand on the outside of the knee, and it might be your opposite hand if that gives you, again, a little bit more mechanical advantage. And what you're going to do is press out into your hand. So I'm driving my leg out in this direction. Okay? Think about sitting tall as I do this. Okay? And if you need to get a little closer, if your hand, your arm to leg ratio isn't as favorable and you're finding you have to really reach to get there, don't reach by bending through the torso. Sit tall, hinge at your hip, and that gets you closer, gets you a little bit longer arm out of the deal. Okay? So pressing outward and taking up the slack is to bring the leg a little more in and to do that again. Okay? And you can try it with either hand. I like to have my opposite hand. It feels like a better mechanical advantage. Try both ways and see what works best for you. So that's the press down, the press up, and the press out. We're now going to press in with the leg. And for this one, again, you can do the opposite hand or the same. Again, this one, the same arm actually is helpful because I feel like I get a little bit more traction there. And for this, I'm going to be pressing in to my hand, okay, and I'm resisting my own pressure. Relax, take up the slack a little bit out, and press again. Repeating all of these 3 to 5 times, taking up that little bit of slack, and remember, pressing enough that you have some resistance to work against, but not so hard that you're having to struggle. And you should stay in one place with all those movements. So whenever that pressure is happening, we're staying still through that movement. And those are 4 planes of motion that can improve how your hips feel and the relationship between the 2 hip bones and your sacrum, the tailbone in the back. Thank you for joining in on this episode of This Osteopathic Life, Best Health Through Movement. This is Dr. Amelia Bueche, and we'll see you next time.